Hello, Americans. Are we reaping our harvest of greed? Have we built our house on sinking sand? Why are we being ugly Americans?
Show, and truly we're in exciting times. It's really tough and scary at times too, but we're fighting back and we've got some real good weapons on our side, so that's the real plus about all of this. We're going to talk again about what is going on briefly in the market, what's being said, and trust me, they're talking out of both sides of their mouth on everything. So pay attention. Some sources will say this and the other source will say just the opposite. And this is the time of obfuscation. People are going to lie all over the place unexpectedly. So pay attention to who's lying. As soon as they're lying, then you'll know whose side they're really on. They're not on your side. They're not on my side. They're on the other side, the bank side. So we're going to talk real quickly about that. And then I really want to focus just briefly on scam alerts. Turns out that, of course, exactly what the banks are doing to us is a complete scam. So we're going to talk about that, how to fight back against that scam. But then there's all these sub-scams going on, insult to injury. And I'm going to show you a couple of them, give you some tools, help you figure out how you can protect yourself by the kind of investigation and the kinds of things that you ought to be doing, and expecting to be able to get to prove it is not a scam. So we'll briefly talk about that. And then let me tell you something. It is coming out, owner leverage. Things are coming out and we need to use every one of these items. And I can't keep up with all of it myself, so I'm going to ask you to help me. I'm working on more exposure. In fact, if you looked carefully at your little email alert, if you got one, I've actually started to migrate all the videos over to YouTube. I'm making playlists. We're migrating into, remember I said earlier, a better internet platform. We need all the exposure we can get and all the organization that all of our efforts can get. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. You're going to play a huge part in it. Thank you so very much for your dedication, your following, your commitment, because this is what makes the new world come into being. Sorry, it's just a lot of work, and it's not always successful, and you know that. And that is something that warriors have to face. Never thought I'd be a warrior. Here we go. I like what Ted is saying. He's saying the government spooks are drunk on power. No kidding. And he said this in Congress.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Poe, for 5 minutes.
Mr. Speaker, the administration puts forward
a false choice between the liberties we cherish and the security we provide. No more illegal wiretapping of citizens. No more ignoring the law when it is convenient. That is not who we are. That is not what is necessary to defeat the terrorists. We will again set an example for the world that the law is not subject to the whims of stubborn rulers and that justice is not arbitrary. This administration acts like violating civil liberties is the way to enhance our security. It's not. Mr. Speaker, that was candidate Obama in the year 2007 when he was attacking another administration. But that was then and this is now. How times have changed. Flash forward to the summer of 2013, the summer of surveillance. The Department of Justice seizes information from 20 different Associated Press phone lines. The Department of Justice seized phone records of Fox News reporter James Rosen and his parents and several Fox News phone lines. The NSA, which I call the National Surveillance Agency, seized from Verizon Business Network Services millions of telephone records, including the location, numbers, and time of domestic calls. Thursday, we learned about another secret government program called PRISM that allows the NSA to search photos, emails, and documents from computers at Apple, Google, and Microsoft, among many other internet sources. Mr. Speaker, the American people have lost trust in this government. You think? The government spooks are drunk on power, and it's time for Congress to intervene to prevent the invasion of privacy by government against the citizens. The administration says its snooping activities are lawful. Well, not so fast. Let's start with the Patriot Act, which needs to be reviewed, but let's look at it as it now stands. The Patriot Act requires, quote, a statement of facts showing there are reasonable grounds to believe the tangible things sought are relevant to foreign intelligence, international terrorism, or espionage investigation. I see no way that the National Surveillance Agency could be lawfully conducting such a widespread, intrusive fishing expedition based on the Patriot Act or FISA. They're supposed to be justifying each individual search based on lawful grounds, not snooping and prying and spying through tons of data hoping to find a hit on some bad guy. In other words, the government should only be able to collect phone records with a court order for someone they have reasonable suspicion to be connected with a terrorist. Government cannot use the Soviet-style dragnet approach, hoping to catch a big fish while also catching the endangered species of freedom. What the Patriot Act does not allow is widespread warrantless invasions of privacy where government blindly snoops around looking for some mischief. But the government claims it got some bad guys, 2 or 3 terrorists, it says. Well, if so, show us the cases. Those cases should be public if charges were filed, but that still doesn't justify the invasion of privacy. Let me continue. The administration could also be seizing emails of citizens over 6 months old without a warrant in its snooping frenzy. Unfortunately, the law allows this to occur. This needs to be changed. Representative Zoe Lofgren and I are trying to fix that with legislation to reform the outdated Electronic Communications Privacy Act by requiring a warrant for government to search and seize emails. Such a basic constitutional requirement should be made the law when government wants to arbitrarily take people's emails. The bullying and badgering of the Fourth Amendment must cease. The federal government tries to scare citizens and arbitrarily redlines the Fourth Amendment. Mr. Speaker, technology may have changed over the years, but the Constitution just does not. We can have security, but not at the cost of losing individual freedom. Because, to quote the constitutional law professor, there should be no choice between the liberties we cherish and the security we provide. But the summer of surveillance continues, and that's just the way it is. I yield back.
Chairman yields back.
Currently, that's the way it is. It doesn't have to be that way. We must change it, and we need to have our representatives. Now notice, this was a Republican from Texas. Like I tell you, you can notice, I'm talking about it, the D and the R and the I and the P designations, but the facts are these. These individuals in every party are going to either stand up for the people or stand up for the banks. And if they're standing up for freedom, then you know they're for the people. If they say, oh no, this is just fine, then they're standing up for the banks. And any legislator that is in your district, I'm thinking of like Nancy Pelosi for me. She's just fine with this. We need to send her emails, all of these people emails, that they will be the first to bite the dust when the president takes over as a dictator. They will be able to manipulate everything she's done and call her a terrorist. And that is part of the scary point. They have enough data, they have all the data, they can make any claims they want, and they can change the data to match that. That's one of the real scary parts about it that we need to keep trumpeting and talking about, because people will start to think, Oh, yeah, right. Particularly one article I noticed talking about the whistleblower saying, hey, wait a minute, this guy's what, a high school dropout, and he's 23, and he has access to tapping anybody in the NSA? Anybody? How did he get that power? What's going on? And if he had that, then what about the entire structure above him? In other words, it's open season, guys, and we're the animals being hunted. However, it's not all bad. The Supreme Court ruled that human genes can't be patented. So there's a shocking surprise. Now, if we could just get them to say you can't patent plants, plant genes and stuff, that would be great. Now, here's obfuscation. JP Morgan, here's the statement. This was Wednesday, yesterday. JP Morgan is cutting 1,800 jobs from their mortgage servicing business. Mortgage servicing unit, laying them off. They don't need them anymore. The improving credit landscape is what is talking about in this article. They're saying an improving credit landscape means fewer loans are delinquent and fewer people are needed to service these loans. Okay, we can think about that, especially in light of this next article where Damone, gee, wasn't that just JP Morgan Chase we read about? So now the CEO, chairman and chief executives told investors he likes the mortgage business and the servicing side is improving. So we have to, screen out the static, and we have to keep focused on the facts, keep looking at the truth, what is actually really happening. So here's some things that are really happening. Foreclosures jump as banks bet on rising U.S. home prices. So now we're led to believe, and this may be true. How do we know what they're actually thinking? We can only speculate. But it does make some sense that when home prices are really, really low, and if they foreclosed and took the house back, they'd be stuck with having to maintain that, mow the lawn and all these other rules that have come into place. And so now that prices have jumped up, they're saying, hey, gee, I could foreclose on this house and we could get more money for it and sell it quick. So what'll be really fascinating is to see if as they're claiming that foreclosures are jumping, does that mean they're listing? See, people make a mistake. They think they foreclose, they must list. No, they're foreclosing and holding. And so just because they're saying sufficient demand and prices are improving, why would that mean they're foreclosing more? It doesn't make sense to me, because I know that they're not listing these foreclosures. They already have this huge inventory. We have already talked about the millions of vacant homes that the banks are holding, Fannie, Freddie, and the banks. So this is a fascinating article that makes you pause, makes me wonder, so what is going behind the scenes here? Because obviously these people that write these articles, they're just being probably told talking points. And so then they're just writing this stuff up. And as long as, we are frogs in the gradually warming water, we don't recognize that. So I did want to talk about the scams and about the banks and about what we're facing, fighting back against scams. So this is an article from the FDIC, and this is a report, FDIC report on community banks. And it's a good report. And I wanted to highlight this because as we talk about our solutions and our power and our clout as people, this plays right into what we've been talking about. And that is their study. They found that 3 primary factors contributed to bank failures in the recent crisis. Now, of course, remember, they bailed out the mega banks who should totally have failed. They completely failed. And so then they just glommed on to the money machine and said, we're not going out of business, thank you very much. However, all the other little banks don't have that privilege. And so the banks that failed typically had rapid growth excessive concentration in commercial real estate lending. They got scammed and jammed just like you and I did. Prices rose, they started making loans, we borrowed, and then they crashed the prices. We're ruined, they're ruined. Same thing. See, they're subject to the mega bank manipulation of the money and the credit. But they also funded through highly volatile deposits. So by contrast, community banks that followed a traditional conservative business plan of prudent growth, careful underwriting, and stable deposit funding overwhelmingly were able to survive the recent crisis. So that's really, really, really good news, because all of our public banks, all of our nonprofit beneficial financing, all of our concepts that we're building on should be fine. These principles were fine in this last fiasco. So how do we protect ourselves against scams? I really want to talk about that. And in general, I'm going to first start talking about the scammers that are trying to feed off of each one of us. And so I've had several people say, what about this? What about that? People are desperate to save their homes. They send a qualified written request letter. They're still getting an auction date. They're screaming. They don't know where to turn. And so, some email hits them. And one of the things that happens, and I understand real estate like cold. I know this industry. So sometimes people will say to me, yeah, well, the entity, the scammer, my word, claimed, oh, they could do this and they could do that and they could do this. And I emailed back and said, well, that's insane, because that's not how real estate works. You can't do a double escrow or whatever the stupid thing is that they're claiming. One I remember last year claimed, we'll walk into the bank's office and we'll demand a loan mod for you. And I said to the person, I'm sorry, I think all the servicing offices now are offshore. So are they going to go to India? How does that actually work? Which just immediately puffed that lie. So many times you can't figure out the scam. It really is clever. These guys are the most clever liars on the planet. So here's one of the things that I've recommended. This is what I did. Somebody emailed me just recently and said blah 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 blah, and it sounds really great, and it's a loan modification, and they don't charge any money up front, and you don't pay unless you get the loan modification. And so this is, let's see if I can find where I wrote it. Yes, here it is. Here's the complaint. So I did exactly what I suggested here. I Googled the name of that company, complaint. Just type in on Google the company name space complaint or complaints and see what comes up. That's a really, really, please, #1 tool. Do it for yourself. You have any suspicion about anything, just write in the name and the complaint. If nothing comes up, then you can, try some other words. But in this case, it was really simple. And this is the complaint that came up. And this was classic, because this guy is complaining. He said, I made it clear I could not pay the fee until the loan was modified, because I know it's against California law to collect a fee for loan mod before the mod's obtained. I feel, this is so classic. I feel this escrow payment is an attempt to circumvent the law. So we're not going to have a loan mod fee, but there is an escrow payment, oh, by the way. Duh. And so he says, I don't appreciate this bait and switch. So there you go. This is how they're scamming people with words. And unless you fight back and look this up on Google, you'll be just another victim trying to get your money back. So truly, Google that. Another word of warning again and again. It is not legal for someone to practice law without a license. So if somebody emailed and had something that they were looking at, and there's a whole bunch of paralegals helping pro se people, And so I wrote back and said, you know, come on, are these paralegals practicing law without a license? What is going on? And be wary of any unsubstantiated claims. They claim. Demand proof. So I just want to show you some questions that this guy wrote on an email. This happens, well, anyway, I'm not going to name names, but this is the point. They're saying that, okay, they'd mentioned in the in this solicitation and email that the lawsuit's done over the phone and through the mail. How does that work? So the target is emailing questions back. These are great questions. What's the approximate cost of filings? And besides these, what's the fee charged? And do you have any references, successful court cases, settlements, or other proof of the success of your program and people keeping their homes? And I always say, see right here, it's right here. Ask for proof. Give me a property address. Because with a property address, you can actually find out from an escrow company. You can look on the tax data records. You can see what is going on if they've been able to keep the loan or the home, or if there's been a home ownership change. So I'm always, people say blah, 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 and I just write back, what's the address? Tell me the address. How can I find out anything about what you're saying without a property address? And even if there's a settlement, they ought to be able to give you a property address. And if they don't, then be very, very careful. Don't send them money up front. How about failures? Have there been any negative rulings, setbacks, or pitfalls? Anybody that's honest and full disclosure is going to tell you this. In California, there are strict rules about companies helping homeowners fight their foreclosures without being certified to do so or without being an attorney. Absolutely, it's called a foreclosure defense statute. And anyone that accepts payments in foreclosure defense must be licensed and bonded to do so unless they're an attorney. And truly, lots and lots of people are doing lots and lots of stuff and getting away with it. It works until it doesn't. And until the state comes after you. And like I've been telling everybody, you and me, we're just easy pickings. I don't have the resources to fight back if the state came after me. Are you kidding? Neither do you. And it's not worth it. So be very careful of what you do for others and what you get paid to do and the kinds of claims you make. And so, of course, the questions go on. Are there any risks of your company falling into being sued by the state or closed down by the state of practicing law without a license? And so these are excellent questions. Don't believe everything you read. Please don't believe it. Ask questions. These are common sense, logical questions. Try to divorce yourself from your emotional desperation. And if you need help, send me an email. And I hate to say that because I'm not responding to a lot of the emails except those that are like completely urgent. I have a foreclosure tomorrow, help me. And then I find some time to fit that in. This is why I'm shifting how we're handling this effort so that others can get the help they need without all having to come directly to me for answers. You can go to the blog we're trying to set up. So this is basically scam alerts. Please, I just want to also show you the FDIC, the Federal Deposit, not that one, this one, Federal Trade Commission. And they are halting alleged mortgage relief scammers who lure homeowners with bogus claims. Come on, this is a humongous problem. That's why the state of California passed a foreclosure defense statute. They were trying to shut down these scammers. And one of the things I wanted to show you is something that you might have gotten in the mail. Lots of people get this, and I've blanked out. These are just sent out ubiquitously to everybody facing foreclosure. Notice how there's no company name on this. This is called mortgage legal claims. This is called a foreclosure injunction. This is a mail solicitation for someone to join as a potential plaintiff in the above mentioned case. So your mortgage loan with, in this case, B of A, may be eligible for a litigation settlement. Sounds really great. Our agency will verify your foreclosure, and if needed, will provide you with representation for a lawsuit that will seek, among other things, to void your note, to possibly give you your home free and clear, and or award you relief of monetary damages. Who wouldn't want that? Who doesn't want that? And of course, you can just call this number, but you notice it's a litigation settlement division, and nowhere on this is there any itemization of any attorney or company name. This is basically illegal. No attorney is to solicit without saying who they are. And you need to understand this. What I would recommend is that if you're up for it and you get one of these, you see this and you want to call, that'd be great. I don't have time to follow up on this. The number is 877-873-4743, and just say, yeah, I'm facing foreclosure, and my neighbor, my friend got one of these, what do you guys do and who are you? And then go on to my Homeowner for Justice website under under foreclosure defense. At the very bottom of that page is the website for filing a complaint with the Attorney General of California. And that's what I recommend we all do. Try to snag and bag these liars, because this is truly an effort we can do to help protect others that, fall into the scams, are sucked millions and millions of dollars out of their pockets by the time you add up everybody that has paid scammers in this country and got nothing for it, just more grief and more loss of money. It's truly outrageous, and I'm just beside myself. I wanted to talk about that. So the next thing I'd like to mention is somewhere in here I have, here we go, dual track comparison. This is a link which actually compares the dual tracking from the Attorney General settlement, the California Bill of Rights, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and the analysis. This is several pages. It is truly classic. It's really a great tool that each one fighting foreclosure can look at to see, okay, how do these items compare? And so as we go down the pages, and I'll let you review this for yourself, but the point is, the CFPB rule gives you 120 days, where the California Bill of Rights is 30 days. There isn't anything with the Attorney General settlement, and this is the hard stop time before you can start a foreclosure process. And so I'm recommending that each person facing foreclosure, working on a fight back, actually look through this, and let's pick the most, supportive rules. Like, here's one: the CFPB provides the broadest pre-foreclosure dual track protections. California does not provide a hard stop, but also does not cut off protections after a specific time period like the settlement does. And so I'd say pick and choose our defenses. This is truly a very helpful comparison. So here, the California provides the broadest post-foreclosure start dual track protection, in that there's no deadline for post notice of default application for dual track protections to apply. So if you're in California, use that. Anyway, this is just a very interesting help, and it identifies the rules and what they're supposed to be doing in each one of these. We haven't had time to do this ourselves, so it's really great for the Center for Responsible Lending to pass this on to us. And this will now be linked into the comment section. So here's the private right of action, enforcement mechanism. The HOBAR, California Bill of Rights, provides the broadest enforcement rights, allowing an injunction to pause a foreclosure sale and save the home upon a violation. And so one of the things I'm discussing and I need to have more time and more interaction with more people and hunt through my thousands of documents to find the support, the strongest supports, because what I'm recommending is that we work together to draft for each state. So I'm in California, starting with the California Homeowner Bill of Rights and these protections, draft a response back from a qualified written request. So you send it QWR. The bank, B of A, pick whatever bank, sends their answer back, which probably for sure either lies or just omits the answers to questions that you've asked. In response to that back, why not start demanding, include proof of forgery, proof of false notarization, lawsuits, the affidavit, if it's B of A, the affidavit of lying, all the court cases that would support the owner keeping the house, and say, okay, now look, you've already violated all this stuff. And so I'm going to take you to court for wrongful foreclosure. It's going to cost you X amount to have you send all these, expensive attorneys out there to fight, or we could just settle now. Why can't we do our own settlement negotiations with these mobsters? It's a thought. That's where I'm at. So here's the rest. It's 12 pages of analysis that we can use for our own private right of actions. That's what I'm thinking we ought to do. And here's 10 more critical questions. If you notice, the last qualified written request that I've updated on my website includes several of these concepts in a format of number 1, number 2, number 16. But these are the 10 questions, and this is from the liberation movement in South Africa. I'm telling you, these are activists. They're all fighting the very same thing, and this is what they're trying to do, is expose all the people that got these securitized loans, how they can fight back. Now, New Era is preparing a high court application, a lawsuit, to prevent bank collections taken against their members. The Ubuntu Party urges everyone to join in this action and make history in taking back our economic freedom from the unlawful banksters who have been destroying people's lives with impunity. I mean, it could have been written here. It can be written, and it is being written everywhere in the planet. The banks cannot be allowed to stick their head in the sand and pretend that their billions of dollars a month securitization industry doesn't exist. While we in our party are preparing to launch a full criminal charges against the banks, they support the New Rights Alliance in their proposed interdict against all South African banks to stop all repossessions and auctions of properties until our arguments have been heard in a full trial at court. And this, which will, of course, expose their unlawful and fraudulent activities. And this is what we want too. We want somehow to get this in court with all of their unlawful and fraudulent activities and stop the auctions. So here's the 10 questions you could send your bank. And 1, am I actually indebted to the bank right now? Please answer yes or no. Well, that hits it, doesn't it? And please confirm that the bank actually possessed the money they claim to have lent me. So that goes into the fiat credit creation upon the signature of the borrower. Was the loan funded by assets belonging to the bank at the time? Please detail that accounting process. They've got some nice little videos in exposing the credit creation process, that they didn't even loan anything to us. So how can they collect? Did the bank record my promissory note, and where is it right now? And does it participate in the securitization scheme? And I like that word, it is totally a scheme. And was my loan securitized? If so, send me all the details. The qualified written request letter actually demands that. Does the bank have a legal right to collect the money it claims I owe? Are they actually the servicer of record? And if so, where does that legal right come from? Prove you have that legal right. And has my loan with the bank been settled by a special purpose vehicle, insurance policy, or any other party. In other words, is my loan already paid off? And if it's paid off, how can you collect? That is the argument. And that is the crux of the matter. We've already said this is why they have to forge foreclosure documents. They do not have the rights. And this, I believe, is where we're actually, the rubber's going to hit the road, and we're actually going to win. And I have a court case that Renee sent me from New York, and I'm going to show that here in just a minute. The last question is, regarding the security given to the bank by me, has this security been sold or given as security to another party? These are classic, critical questions, because it all deals with, where'd you get the money? Do you have the right? And, oh, by the way, have you already been paid off for it? And if you've been paid off for it, then get out. Stop trying to steal my house. So here's that lawsuit that I was talking about, Renee sending. And this is why I'm going to be soliciting here pretty quick for people to help me. So listen up. This was a decided, it's Wells Fargo Bank, and it was decided in New York on April 29, 2013 in Kings County. And this is on page 12. And notice, before we skip this page, this is from Wells Fargo Bank as trustee for gobbledygook served securities. Okay, this is trustee of mortgage-backed securities. And they're trying to take the house. Hello. So, here we go. On page 12, talks about the REMIC tax benefits, and you know, whatever. That is some other issue that has really nothing to do with trying to foreclose on the house. But what really counts is this paragraph right here, under New York trust law. And this counts for everybody in the planet, because they securitize these under New York trust law. Even in South Africa, even in Ireland, even in the United States, right? So let's quote this in our demand letters for settlement. That's my thoughts. So, under New York trust law, every sale, conveyance, or other act of the trustee in contravention of the trust is void. Therefore, the acceptance of the note and mortgage by the trustee after the date the trust closed would be void. Need I say more? Need we say more? I think we just need to work on how do we use this? How do we use that affidavit of lying, which I actually showed yesterday. Here it is again, because this is so powerful. This was done by Simone Gordon, and this was filed June 7, 2013. See, come on, that was just last week. So, and here we go. She documents, I was employed by B of A from July 7 to Feb 2012. So beginning in 2009, a significant part of my job duties and my time consisted with dealing with people with HAMP. And she talks about the lying and the pressure to lie. And if you didn't lie, you were fired. I wanted to point out this. These and other similar instructions often came in monthly meetings that were conducted by site leaders and attended by 60 to 70 employees. At these meetings, my colleagues and I were given performance goals and quotas. Employees were rewarded by meeting a quota of placing a specific number of accounts into foreclosure, including accounts in which the borrower fulfilled a HAMP trial period plan. So every last one of you ever watching this, ever lost your home, had been paying HAMP trial loan mod payments, which I've been saying for years just went into some slush fund everywhere. They never went on your actual loan payment principal or interest. They were never credited to your account, and they foreclosed anyway. Every last one of you could use this affidavit in a wrongful foreclosure trial, I swear, and should be demanding using this affidavit in demands, at least written demands. You know, we need help. We need, come on guys, you and I, we need to put together a simple 1, 2, 3 page, no bigger than that, demand letter quoting this, quoting the law, quoting whatever else you guys can think about. And this is why we're going to be doing this next week, because right now I'm absolutely swamped and everybody's emailing me, and I got thousands of emails and I am dozens of calls, and we need to get this in a format that people can just, a reference format where they can just go look at it. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But this is the key. We need a demand letter, because I swear to you, I've been looking, we've been hunting, we've been trying to get the 12 million people. 8 million already lost their homes. 4 million are underwater and facing foreclosure. And you've got another 6, 8, 10 million. Who knows how many are going to lose their homes before this is over if we can't stop it. But we can rally those people that already lost by saying, you know something, you don't even need to hire an attorney. Let's just, why don't you use this demand letter? Send it in. Send it to the OCC. Send it to the CFPB. Send it to the banksters. Come on, there's some certified signed receipt requested costs, $20, $30. See if you can't get a settlement out of this. And so, for example, a collector who placed 10 or more accounts into foreclosure in a given month, oh my goodness, they received a $500 bonus. That's $50 a house to foreclose on you. I'm telling you, how cheap these people sell themselves is just astonishing to me. Truly, it's bad enough that they're doing illegal activities, but they could at least have had a $5,000 bonus, don't you think? It's insane that they would put 10 people in foreclosure illegally, fraudulently, for just $500. Bank of America also gave employees gift cards to retail stores like Target or Bed Bath & Beyond as rewards for placing accounts into foreclosure. Bank of America collectors and other employees who did not meet their quotas by not placing a sufficient number of accounts into foreclosure each month were subject to termination. Several of my colleagues were terminated on that basis. They monitored my colleagues and me closely. Team leaders and site leaders walked the call room floor throughout the day wearing headsets that they would use to plug in and listen into a call without warning. I'm telling you, this is tyranny. This is tyranny in the workplace, forcing these people to keep their jobs, to lie and steal and commit forgery and fraud on their behalf. This is completely outrageous and actually not really unexpected. Didn't Matt Taibbi do this long article last year about B of A too crooked to fail? So employees who were caught not carrying out the delay strategies that B of A instructed were subject to discipline, including termination. Employees who were caught admitting that B of A had received financial documents or that the borrower was actually entitled to a permanent loan mod were disciplined and often terminated without warning. So we need to use this stuff. We need to have a fight back demand letter. And before I go about the end things I want to just mention, because this is the new paradigm, and this is the reason that we're talking about a new paradigm. Because trust me, if B of A and all these people weren't so crooked and weren't stealing our homes, we wouldn't even be doing this. It's the unjustness and the fraud and forgery and the theft that's causing us to rise up. That's what makes new paradigms come into being. So that's the silver lining. But I really, really want to start soliciting. Many of you write so well. You know so much. You have such, you have cases, I cannot keep up. I cannot spread the word as well as you. So what I'm doing is this weekend, I'm migrating all of my YouTube videos over to, all my live stream, over to YouTube. I'm actually making playlists. So here's the playlist. For example, see foreclosure defense workshops. You can see the whole playlist. The first one is the Attorney General presentation. And what has really forced me into this is that last night, Renee's been talking to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, about all of these bank scams, and I want her to bring us up to date tomorrow if possible on our update Friday. The fact is, they're halting alleged mortgage relief scammers, so let's have them halt these alleged servicers who are scamming and breaking every rule. So she got this guy on the phone, I believe some person there, I'm not going to say anymore. And he says, well, what? Oh, you're right, they're servicers. And so she then is frantic last night asking me for the Attorney General presentation I had done. And I sent her back, well, here's the link. But the link didn't work on live stream. And so I'm saying, okay, I'm done. All the archives, I'm working on it. They're only about half of the videos are uploaded. We've only got hundreds. Sorry. So, but I've made sure all the foreclosure defense videos are there. I've put them on a playlist. So anybody, when you send them out the Attorney General presentation, it's going to show up on the playlist, and then anybody can see all of these different, workshops. And you can jump around and see them. The other playlists that I've started to put together are just the weekdays live for January, February, March. I've also started a playlist like for securitization. So the smattering of shows that really focused on that, boom. I'm going to start having categories. That way we can playlist these videos rather than just not even knowing where they all are. And even on my searchable library document, it's difficult because I've not categorized them. I've simply just made the list of what they all are with links, and I'm working through that document and changing them all to the YouTube links. First off, it'll be easier to categorize them like this and to share them. The second thing is it's on YouTube. That's where everybody's searching. So we are hoping to expand our audience with that. So that's one thing I'm doing. And it's taking a lot of my time and energy and effort, but I know that this is prep work. This is when I stopped doing weekdays live for those few days and I did these workshops, prep work. This is super critical for the expansion of the effort. The other thing that I'm working on and hope to have live starting up, really functional, is a blog that we can have all these different topics. So suggest topics. These are the topics I'm thinking about personally. A foreclosure defense topic and subtopics under that. And we can have a whole zillion bunch of subtopics. But I can't write all this stuff. So, like pro se court action. So Lorraine, those folks of you that are really active and have legal documents and willing to help and willing to co-author, send me articles, send me your stuff. We will be able to put these articles in. We'll just call it co-authoring. It'll be on my blog, but you'll be writing it, and we can attach the documents to your blog so that every one of us can actually have an index of what we're talking about. Some of you are so good on your activist campaigns, and you're doing this and you're doing that, and it would be fabulous if others around you knew what was happening, or you're starting a campaign in California, or someone's doing it in Pennsylvania, but what is being done in Pennsylvania, like at the recorder's and sheriff's office, could be copied here, copied everywhere. So come up with categories. If you're interested in writing something, please on the subject line say co-author or blog or something like that, so that I'll catch it in the dozens of emails that come into my box all the time. And we will work to start to organize what we're doing into an outline, into an index of categories, subcategories, and even sub-subcategories. What's powerful about this is that then people can follow, they can comment, they can write, they can interact, and everybody can keep track of it without it just jamming up your email like in a Facebook discussion, which I've joined and then just had to say, oh, I can't do that anymore, because it's just, you just get hundreds and hundreds of comments because every comment comes into your email. Here, you could actually have no comments hit you, but when you're available and have time, go check that category, see what's being done, see what's being said, see the latest articles, sign up for RSS feeds, have email alerts, that kind of thing. And of course, I am fighting, foreclosures, because that is so crucial. But as we slow down the foreclosures, as we actually can solve that, that is going to be super active. But we must focus on the Great Transition. And so I'm going to be trying to handle all of this stuff. That's why I need a co-author. So whatever your interest, whatever your expertise, come on, co-author with me. Let's pack this blog, and we'll pack it with connections to Facebook so that we can really start to make a difference on the planet. Those are the things I really wanted to bring to your attention. And the fact is, it's an ongoing work in progress. A lot of us are just doing this on our spare time. And I so appreciate every one of you that is doing whatever you can, and any effort that you're taking and willing to share with other people. So please, again, protect yourself from scams. Be wary of unsubstantiated claims. Ask for proof. Ask for specific questions. It is okay to question. It's okay to say, wait a minute, that sounds really too good to be true. So send me some proof, will ya? It's okay to share what you get back from these people, and ask other questions. That's what I would love. And so here's a category that I hadn't even thought of until right this minute on the blog. It'll be foreclosure scams, and that way people can start to interact. Send me articles of which scam, and then people can interact so that they can literally, everybody can actually say, scams, huh? Well, I wonder if the one I just got, what did I just get? Is that a scam? They can go and look, and they can see, yep, wow, I got that same letter, and they already told me it's a scam because somebody already called, already found out. We already know what is going on. This is the power to the people. And of course, power to the people always just buggers the bankers, the politicians, and the bureaucrats. And that is our goal in life. Thanks, guys. Tomorrow's Update Friday. Please, any updates, every update, send them in so that we can get you on the show. Talk to you soon.
When I was a lass, I was proud of me class, like my father and mother before me. They taught me to fight for my civil rights, but it's always the same old story. The rich reign supreme while the poor can but dream, and the labor or liberal or Tory. And I say, bugger the bankers and politicians, bugger the bureaucrats too, bugger the buggers who make up the rules, and if you're one of them, bugger you, and if you're one of them, bugger
The system is bent and the money's all spent. We're badgered from every direction. The workers get taxed while the wealthy relax.
with nary a moment's reflection. Where there's brass, there's muck, and they don't give an arse, 'cause they're programmed against insurrection. And I say, bugger the bankers and politicians, bugger the bureaucrats too, bugger the buggers who make up the rules, and if you're one of them, to vent. Don't give up the struggle for justice. But I've done my time on the protesters' line, and these days I show my dissent.